Hello world and welcome to Oz by Drone. I'm Greg and he's not John, he's Lloyd.
Yes, let me bring the real co-host of this show in. I'm just producing, so there we go. Hey, John.
How you going, Lloyd? Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays.
Same to you.
Whatever it is, if you're enjoying it, I hope you're enjoying it.
Yeah, it's New Year's Day and we're sloughing off.
Happy New Year to everyone. This is going to be a little bit different to the regular Oz by Drone. As you can see, I've invaded Art's place and I'm currently coming to you from his house over there. John's from his car. He's out and about today, and Lloyd's doing a bit of producing for us via StreamYard. But John's going to have a holiday for the month ahead and just pop in from time to time very briefly. But did you want to say anything? Let's put John full screen for a few moments, Lloyd.
Absolutely. Here we go.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, I'm hoping that you maybe you got a new aircraft for Christmas. That's fun. You ever having any troubles here? You know, you can always ask questions on the chat room if you're having trouble setting it up. We love to answer those questions. But for a little while, we're going to just have a chat on the show and about other stuff. But you can always make contact if you're having a struggle there. We love to help out. Not much drone news other than the FAA registration moving forward, requiring for electronic registration. Lloyd would probably have a little bit more to inform us about that. Ever-changing environment that way. But other than that, fly safe and keep those batteries looked after and have a great holiday season. Hopefully you can get some flying in.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go back to this three-shot now. And before we do anything else, there we go.
Three-shot. There we go. Whoops, I took John out.
Okay. And before we do anything else, there's one thing that I absolutely have to do. We've got to start the year with a bang.
Hey!
Yay!
He's been waiting a year to do that, you know. He's been waiting.
I
It's
have.
a long wait. I mean, and you couldn't wait a minute longer. I knew you had to jump in and do that. So that's great. I had a sparkler for New Year's Eve because we weren't allowed really to go out here at the moment. I'm in the red zone in Sydney. If you're wondering, at the moment we're locked down and not allowed to leave our area. But living in a great area is not so bad. We're happy.
Yeah, you've got great views.
Yes, absolutely. We have great views. I've got a view on a few things too that are happening in the local area, but they're not great.
Yeah. Anyway, John, look, I'll let you go and enjoy your lockdown. I assume you're going out and shopping and picking up some supplies for your home. Yeah,
all of that, and I've got a little bit of flying, and hopefully later today if the weather gives me a break. So, I'm still racking up the hours. So fly safe, everyone, and I'll be back with more news when we start picking up the news again.
Okay. See you soon, Johnny.
See you, Greg.
John.
See you, Lloyd. Bye, everybody.
See you, John.
See ya.
Okay. So we've got a very unstructured show today. The closest thing we've got a couple of talking points, but we do invite anyone who wants to chat with us today to jump into StreamYard. The link for that, I'm going to try and put that in the YouTube chat just now. There we go. So if anyone wants to jump in and be on the panel today, come in, say hello, join the family. It's all fun. Now, down to my list of things I was going to talk about today. The first thing I was going to talk about was last week's episode of Oz by Drone. You would have seen a thumbnail of me sitting in a... Greg, you move in with art. No, I didn't move in with art. It's just the background. Last week, I was planning on going live from Westfield Miranda Shopping Centre, and unfortunately, it didn't quite work out as planned. There was some issues with the internet at that location. But where I wanted to show you, I was going to a store called JB Hi-Fi, and it had a massive queue on the Boxing Day sales. I was going in there to buy some controllers, some video game controllers. So that was my plan. eventually made it through the queue and all of the social distancing, hand washing, and all of that, because they only let a certain number of people in at a time. But finally made it there and picked up the game controllers, which leads me on to the next topic of interest. I've been having some fun over the holidays with something non-flying related. How many people in chat have got Apple Arcade on an Apple TV or something like that? So Apple Arcade is kind of... Did I miss something?
No, Art's down here making faces.
Oh, okay. You can bring him on. Bring him up.
There we go.
Yeah.
There you go.
I was keeping him in the green room.
Hang on. How can we be in the same place? Oh, that doesn't work.
I don't know.
I thought you had a different picture a second ago, Art.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Let me just finish my little story, though. So I got these new
Yeah,
game
go ahead.
controllers, and Apple Arcade is something where you can download a whole heap of games on your Apple environment, whether it be Apple TV or whatever, and have some fun with that. And there's this game that I found called Marble Knights, and my wife and I, my regular producer, who I'm sitting in her chair today, so that's a little bit different. But we got addicted to that game and we've finished it all. But we're looking for other people, our viewers, who might have Apple Arcade who can join in for an online game, because when you've got more people playing the game, if you've got a 4-player version, there are places within that universe that unlock. So I'm looking for anyone who wants to join us for a bit of gameplay. But that's just a little bit of something different. So that was my first little foray into what happened last week. What's been happening for you, both of you, Art and Lloyd, for your Christmas week?
Well, let's see.
Well.
Christmas Eve, I almost got ran over by a SUV.
Reindeer?
Yeah. No, by a one of them big GMC Denali's or and that's why I didn't have my show Monday, because
Yeah.
in the process of trying to avoid a major accident, and I mean literally just barely avoiding it. Yeah, I twisted my back trying to get out of the way, and it's still hurting, but I did get some nice stuff, and I spent the rest of the week trying to learn how to make a little plastic dog and a little plastic cat. So far, that's all I've been able to print. So
Okay.
3D printing sucks.
Okay, and Art, what have you been up to over the
Well,
Christmas
I went over
period?
to my sister's house for Christmas. Got some nice gifts and got a pair of blue jeans, AC/DC T-shirt. What else? Oh, grocery store gift cards. Oh, and I got a drone.
Oh,
I got.
no. Is it a, you won it?
Am I
You
a
won it?
winner? It's called the Galactic Fidget Drone.
Okay, let's see it.
Yeah.
Let's see it up in the air.
Oh no.
Did you ever get it to work?
No. There we go. I think what you gotta do is you gotta spin it like a fidget.
Fidget spinner and
Oh, there we go. Oh, holy crap.
Did you have it upside down?
I might have. There we go. Let's.
it was trying to go downwards as soon as it was active. One more
Spin
try.
it again.
Oh, yeah, that really worked. Oh,
The
it's
attack of the
spinning.
killer
Oh,
drone.
you ought to see it. It's spinning around on my.
There we go.
There you go.
So it's a fidget spinner that's battery powered with some flashing
Yeah.
lights and yeah, okay.
How about I flip it over?
Yeah, that's them. It's them evil Chinese. They make this stuff to drive us nuts.
Absolutely.
I got a laser CNC, a laser printer and CNC, and it took me. Says 2-hour job. Took me a day and a half,
Yeah, well, there you go.
and I still haven't
let's-
fired it up.
Okay. Sounds like a lot of fun. Let's move on to something else, the FAA rules. And I had a email from someone that I'm just going to bring up with the PDF summaries of the changes that have come in. So let me get that up on my screen.
Cool.
And in fact, I might even forward it to Lloyd as well, quickly. As you can see, we're very organised today.
Yeah. All you should have to do is click.
By the way, my birthday is in 2 weeks.
Okay. Well,
Well,
we'll
you
be
expecting
around
something
here.
from
hey,
us?
Wayne, good to see you.
Oh, you are?
I'm doing
Oh,
pretty
we
good.
got Wayne here as well. Oh,
Yeah.
let me quickly go and get back to that screen so I can say hi to Wayne. Where
Wayne's
are you?
World Party
Oh,
on.
g'day, Wayne.
I've got a couple of microphones. Have I got too many microphones?
Your audio's not going so well there, Wayne. You're clipping. Try again. Try again, Wayne. No, let's move on. We'll leave Wayne there and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But let's move on. So the final rulemaking on the operation of unmanned aerial systems over people. So that's part one of some of the changes that people have made or planning to make in the US by the FAA. So here's a question for you, Lloyd.
Yeah.
What does it mean to fly over people?
Well, it means you can't fly over people. I mean, that's pretty self-evident.
Okay, so if you've got someone who's skinny as a toothpick, does that mean you can fly over here just to the... Oh, I'll do that side. Over here next to them, as long as they're, they've got a cylinder around them. How close to people can you fly? What does over mean in America?
Well, I mean, if they're on the other side of the street, then you can fly down that side, the opposite side of the street, maybe. But you shouldn't be flying over anybody that's, within falling distance of the drone. In other words, if it falls, it could drift and hit them. So you need to be aware of your surroundings. That's what.
Okay,
That's what
so
I would
let's
think.
talk about that. The falling distance of a drone. What if the drone is at an altitude of 400 feet? What's the falling distance of a drone at 400 feet?
I don't know, but it can't equal any more than 11 foot-pounds of kinetic energy when it hits them.
That's another question. We'll get to that one.
That's the last I heard before I fell asleep to that whole discussion.
It is something that can be very boring, but it's a
Yeah.
boring topic, but I want to make it interesting, right? If you're at 400 feet, and let's say you've got an angle of 45 degrees for your falling, let's say, I'm just picking that, due to wind velocity or whatever it is. And if it's
Right.
going to fall 400 feet, that's 200 feet the other side.
Yeah,
That's a long
what I-
distance.
what I would do is say, hey, knothead, look out, there's a drone falling out of the sky, and hope they had enough smarts to get out of the way.
Yeah. So in Australia, the reason for asking the question, in Australia, sorry, go ahead, Wayne.
Wouldn't it depend on what size drone you had?
How far it's going to fall, from its starting point. If it's at 400 feet, you've just got to know what speed it's going to be going at based on the wind, how
Yeah.
much wind is catching it. So the size of the drone can play into that in terms of the wind. What's the word? I can't think of it at the moment. But
Velocity?
not the wind velocity. I can't think of it. The drag.
Terminal.
The drag on the airframe of the drone.
Drag.
I would have thought it would have been safer with a Maverick Mini as opposed to an Attribution or a one of the other.
I'm not talking yet about the impact of the drone hitting someone.
Right.
I'm talking about how far can it physically travel based on drag and the wind is going to push it somewhere else. Let's say your prop's cut for whatever reason, or you lose battery. How far is the wind going to push it? That depends on the speed of the wind.
Yes.
But let's just say it can push at 200 meters, 200 feet. Does that mean you can't fly within 200 feet of a person? And where I'm going with that is in Australia, we've got the 30-meter rule. So you cannot fly. It doesn't matter how high you are, you can't fly within 30 meters of a person. Now, I don't know what the FAA is planning to do because we've only got these little PDFs with a short summary of their proposed rules. But have you, either Art or Lloyd, heard anything about the proposed distance from people? What's that going to look like?
I have no clue. From what I understand, what little bit I've heard about it, it's still pretty much up in the air and incomplete. I mean, they've got, I looked at it, but some of it is so redundant and didn't make any sense to me that I just like, but I'm old. Maybe Art, you're 107. Have you looked at any of that stuff?
Well, the only thing I like about it is no recurrent tests. Yeah, it saves me $150 every 2 years. So I'm done with that. But it did away with the daytime waivers, so you can fly at night. And what else? There was flying over people was another rule change.
So that's what we're on at the moment, looking at flying over people as our main topic to start with. Just briefly, I saw Mike Miller. Oh my God, I wished I was in this conversation. My math is all off. Look, if my math is wrong, it's not designed to be 100% accurate. I'm just giving an example, and it very well could be wrong. But, in fact, it is wrong. Yes, it is wrong. Duh.
Yeah. You're the computer whiz.
Okay.
Doesn't mean he knows how to do math.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's 45 degrees, it's going to be 400 feet from where you fall. There you go. That's better. My math is very much off. And by the way, Mike Miller, if you wish you can be in the conversation, you can very much join in and
absolutely.
Join us. Yeah, you're very welcome. But again, back to the point. What does it mean in the US FAA definition to be flying over people? That's what we don't have clarity about in that part of their documentation at the moment. Moving on to the next bit, operations at night. Remote pilots who wish to conduct small UAS operations at night, they've got to do an initial test and updated recurrent online training. So I think that's pretty straight ahead. Just doing some online training.
Light that's viewable from 3 statute miles.
Yeah, which is fair enough, and that's fine.
Okay.
And you can get that at Unported.
According to the FAA site, the operations over people and at night rule applies to Part 107 operators. The ability to fly over people and moving vehicles varies depending on the level of risk a small drone operation presents to people on the ground.
And that also leads
So that
to
means
the
I can
question,
fly over anybody I want because it only applies to Part 107, if I read that right.
Yeah, so then that's the point. What are the rules for hobbyist operators? And we've got to go and have a look at that separately. A lot of people have been discussing this, and I'll be blunt. I haven't had a chance to read and study it up myself. At this point, I'm looking at it raw. It's been holiday period, and I've been enjoying my relaxation. But
51 did a very good sum up of the rules and regulations about 2 days ago.
Okay, well, I'm being blunt. I've been on holidays, and I'm having a look for the first time with raw eyes.
Yes.
Let's continue just for a minute. Rule operations at night. What are you laughing at?
The chat. If it blows your hair, it's too close. Well, you're safe, Greg.
Yeah. He knows all about aerodynamics.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Greg is more aerodynamic than any of us. And Mike Miller has just joined us. Well, he may have been there for a few minutes, and I just now got around to seeing it. Hello, Mike. You there?
Hi, guys. How you doing? Happy New Year.
G'day, Mike. Happy New Year. And sorry about my maths. I'm embarrassed by that now.
It's all right. I was just thinking, because when you're talking about something falling out of the sky, a drone does not continue on an angle that it's falling from. There's an arch to it. So as it falls, if it's going 40 miles an hour, it's only going to keep that speed for a few seconds before it begins to fall straight down.
Yeah.
So
I'm looking from the perspective not of the initial velocity of the drone, but potential velocity associated with drag from wind forces after you've cut your propellers. It's still going to be pushing it in another direction. I don't know. I don't want to get into the exact math, but hypothetically, if it's pushing it enough so that it was hypothetically at a 45-degree angle, yes, it could be an arc, but it also depends on the continuing forces from the wind. Let's assume it was a 45-degree straight line just for simplicity for 2 seconds and say, right, 400 feet up, it's going to be 400 feet across if it's a 45-degree angle. Obviously, that's not what the FAA had in mind, and that's why I'm kind of saying Lloyd's initial comment about has it got a risk of falling on someone? Well, that means it's a very, very wide distance you'd need to be from any person to be legal. So the FAA definitely need to clarify that and explain exactly what they mean.
Yeah.
Now, go with your math.
Okay. Well, with what my point was, and what I was thinking is that with the drone, even in a high wind, the wind's not going to carry it that much farther, because once the motors shut off, it becomes a rock and it's falling out of the sky like a rock. The wind might have some force on it that might add a couple feet to where it lands, but really it's going to have an arch. It's going to fly along. Once it loses speed, it's going to have a slight arch before it begins to go straight down. So again, when you're flying over people, you've got to stay, at least 30, 40 feet away. If you're up at 400 feet, if you're lower, it could probably be even closer. But once you lost power and it falls, it's really going to come straight down. The rules, though, that are coming out on flying over people, you just pointed out one a minute ago, which is that, you need to be a Part 107 flyer. But they are really getting really relaxed in them. They're giving us a lot more opportunities to get a lot of different shots. But it is a little bit complicated because there's 4 different classifications of drone for those type of shots flying over people. Yeah. And like I said, they are a little bit complicated, but my real curiosity is in the 4th classification. It is a drone that is deemed skyworthy enough to be able to fly over people without prop guards. Doesn't matter the weight as long as it's under 50 pounds. And it can actually even hover over people. It can stay stationary over people, have a prolonged flight over people. But that drone has to be deemed skyworthy enough by the FAA. And I'm wondering if our Mavics, which we all know are skyworthy. I mean, they don't fall out of the sky.
I don't think they will. And I'll come back to that. Let me just share one other bit for 2 seconds. So my intent here today was to try and compare this with Australia's regs, and we've got the 30-metre rule. So to translate that into something that you guys can understand, that's 98.4 feet, or let's say 100 feet. Yeah. So 100 feet away from people is, if the FAA do take our example, where it's going to potentially end up. So that's the first point. Second point, flying over people. If you want to get closer to people than 30 metres in Australia, you can apply to do that. And the way that they do that is to have a look at the redundancy in the aircraft and the risk associated with that. You need to put in an application. So you need to have redundancy in your props so that if you lose a prop, it can continue flying. So maybe a hexacopter or something like that, or an octocopter. You need to have redundancy in your battery, in your ESCs, and all of those different elements so that if you have a failure, you can continue to fly. I don't know if the FAA is going to take that lead in terms of determining airworthiness for safety in flying over people, but just sharing some of the similarities and differences between Australia versus what the FAA may be doing. Okay.
So it means basically I can no longer be a hobbyist and fly when these new rules apply? Is that what it comes down to?
They are definitely trying to make you get your 107. You can be a hobbyist. There are ways that you can fly as a hobbyist, but all the rules really push everybody into getting their 107.
So how do they push you into getting a 107? What are the restrictions as a hobbyist going forward?
Well, first of all, like we said, flying over people. That's one thing where you have to be a Part 107 to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. a lot of there's been a lot of debate lately about our friend with the $180,000 worth of fines. They said that his flights were all part 107 flights, that he wasn't flying as a hobbyist, he was flying as a part 107. So different people have been debating on what the definition of a part 107 pilot is, and it comes down to what your intent of the flight is. So if you're going out with the intent that you're going to make a YouTube video, you suddenly become a part 107 pilot. Even though it's not a business, even though you're not making money, your intent is that you're going to make a YouTube video. It's not something that you're just doing because you're out to take pictures. It's the intent. So that is something that's been left, like I said, as a debate because people are interpreting it in different ways, and it's become very, very, like I said, a big debate lately. But again, with this new regulations are coming out, they again are leaving us debating what exactly is a hobbyist and what is a part 107. And the easiest way to fix that is just get your part 107. It just alleviates all questions. It eliminates the conflicts that you're going to run into with either local law enforcement or the FAA.
Now,
the cost to get
bringing up one question that Art mentioned. Once you get your 107, do you have to take the test again, or you just got to renew your license?
You don't have to renew it with the new rules.
It's in perpetuity.
What I did see was there was some online recurrent.
Yeah, that's right.
There is a renewal.
Yeah.
There is a renewal, but it's like an online test. It's not really a test. It's an online course that you take. And places like, matter of fact, Shepard was talking about this from Remote Pilot 101 last night on TNL. He'll be able to offer the course. Other outside places like his will be able to offer the course. You go to him, you take a quick little online thing, and he signs you off, and you're officially renewed with the FAA.
Okay.
And no cost.
Yeah.
No cost.
Okay, no cost. All right, now see that I could do. I fly my drone maybe twice a year. I can't see paying $150 to the government for twice a year, and I don't fly higher than maybe 40 feet. I think 29 feet is the highest I've ever flown, and I fly over near the football field when nobody's there in the middle of the summer, and around 4th of July. I just take it up there and look at the lights when it's dusk, and then bring it down. That's about all so I can't see I couldn't see at this point. I can see doing it maybe now, but I couldn't see paying $150 every 2 years for flying a drone only once or twice a year.
Just out of interest, I'll share with you that some numbers for you. If you want to get certified in Australia, just to compare, how much do you think it would cost our US people, if you could give me a number, to get a drone license in Australia?
$5.
$5? Okay, Lloyd. $25? Those are two interesting numbers. In Australia, the online theory and one-to-one practical 1.5 day course, which is the cheapest you can get, $1,350.
Holy cow.
I forgot, yeah. Is that Australian or American?
That's Australian, so maybe
so it's $500 American.
But if you want to go one step further and get your REPL as well as amateur aircraft radio operator certificate, which is another thing that you're required if you're going to be flying in controlled airspace, that's a little bit of extra money. So that's $1,495. And that's the prices in Brisbane. If you're going to do it outside of Brisbane, this company that's doing it there, in Sydney, for example, it's an extra $100, $1,595 in capital cities.
And they don't even buy you dinner for that screwing over, do they?
Yeah.
No.
So it costs you that much here in the United States, but it comes with an Autel Evo 2 Pro.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's continue a little bit. Flying over vehicles, what was the previous expectation in the US? What did it used to cost?
Can't fly over vehicles.
You can't.
Not moving vehicles.
And you can now?
And now you will be able to, yeah.
Yep.
Again, you have to be a Part 107. And again, based on the different 4 classifications of drone, whether or not you can hover or stop over a vehicle, but you can pass over it. You can just pass over it with any one of the 3 classes of drones.
Yeah, like crossing a highway to get to get to a shot from the other side, or let's say you flew over there and then all of a sudden traffic picked up. You couldn't do it before. Moving vehicles, you could pass over parked vehicles, I believe.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting one. Again, just sharing our Aussie comparisons. I don't believe there was anything in the regulations that specifically covered moving vehicles or parked vehicles, but you need to not be endangering property. So there's been interpretations of that you shouldn't fly over roads that have traffic flowing underneath. And obviously the second part of that is the 30-metre rule, staying clear of people. Some people are interpreting that and saying, well, you've got to therefore remain 30 metres away from the people that are in the cars. But there are other people that are interpreting that and saying, well, that's a shielded operation. Any impact will not hurt the person. So, there's lots of vaguity or vagueness in the Australian experience of what we've got over here. But just sharing...
One thing I found interesting about their change on that, their stance on that, is what I understood from the previous rule on that the reason you couldn't fly over moving vehicles is because it was also a distraction from the person in the vehicle. They're all looking at the sky going, oh, look, a UFO. Oh, no, it's Superman. Oh, it's a drone. And by then they've crashed into something. So that's why they didn't want you flying near moving vehicles. But I guess that's no longer a concern because I guess people don't look up anymore. But
it's a helicopter that's flying close by, to be the same distraction.
Yeah, exactly. Or low-flying aircraft, like up near one of our Air Force bases, you drive through there and you can see those AWAC planes doing their touch and goes, up at the Air Force, up at Tinker Air Force Base. They got AWACS coming, and they fly right across the highway. I mean, you can't help but go, whoa.
But at the end of the day, there needs to be something that's just common sense based as well. There needs to be an overarching risk. Do not cause unnecessary risk to people or property. I don't know why we've got this level of complexity in some of the regulations that are proposed and even some of the existing ones. But anyway, let's move on from that. I want to briefly touch on, if I go to, what else was in the...
Remote ID.
I'll come to remote ID, inspection, testing and demonstration of compliance. So that's what's been spoken about before. Some design rules for manufacturers and the fact that they're going to have a clip-on remote ID. So let's move on to the remote ID bit. People's first thoughts and comments on that question. Will the existing DJI technology that they've got where they're broadcasting information, will that be compliant, or will that require either a firmware change, a software change, or something else? Has anyone seen any information on that at this point?
I don't think it'll be compliant because there's proprietary. I don't think they're going to give away that.
But here's the thing. It may be proprietary, but there's nothing at the moment that says that that proprietary implementation is not going to be compliant. Standard remote ID unmanned aircraft needs to have broadcast remote ID messages directly from the aircraft via radio frequency broadcast, likely to be Wi-Fi or Bluetooth technology, and broadcast will be compatible with existing personal wireless devices.
We've all seen that in our menu where it says remote ID, right?
Yeah.
And I wondered the same thing. Are we going to be able to flip that switch and we're qualified with a firmware update?
Yeah.
There's that possibility.
Yeah, I think that might take a little bit of time to get some clarification, but at the very least, I think with DJI, we're likely to see firmware updates to allow compliance for existing, I would say, Phantom 4 and later aircraft, and Mavic and later in that series. Those kind of boards are still reasonably current, and they're still doing patches for them. But that's just a guess. We really don't know until we actually see the legislation and regulations.
Well, and therein lies the problem. the legislation will get bogged down somewhere. They'll come up with a bunch of new, and eventually it'll go to a bunch of congressmen and senators to help write the legislation that have no clue. 90% of them don't know what a drone is. And then it'll get signed by, and I'm not picking sides here, whoever the president might be on January 20th. They're too old to know what a drone is. They're old farts like me. Well, they're older than I am. Well, God, they're older than I am by a long shot. But, you got two senile old duffers saying, what is this about drones? No, yeah, I use drones all the time over in Iraq and over in... That's what they're thinking, So who knows what this is going to end up being like, before it's all over. I mean...
But I want to be controversial for a minute, right? Now, if you own the drone hardware... and when you purchased it, it was 100% compliant and doing its remote ID stuff. Hypothetically, because this remote ID stuff is being broadcast, and I was flying one day and I was flying in the same field as Mike Miller, and I had, because you need personal devices that can capture this information as well, according to the regulations, I capture the serial number of Mike Miller's drone and all of the other information that gets transmitted from Mike Miller's drone. There's nothing in the specification to stop me from putting that information in my aircraft and having that broadcast. Nothing at a technical level. There may be regulations and requirements that say you're not allowed to do it. Don't be naughty. But we've already seen examples of the existing DJI remote ID technology being spoofed, and someone writing code that sits on a Raspberry Pi. In fact, let me get my... Do you guys all know what a Raspberry Pi is?
Yeah, I do. It's a little tiny computer.
I do.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Getting one of those with a battery pack and making it into what some people call a throwy, something you can throw inside a garbage can, a waste can, out the front of Washington, outside of, your
We
White
do not
House.
recommend this at home.
We don't recommend this, but there is nothing to stop someone under the proposed rules and regulations in the US from flying fake flights with Donald Trump's aircraft serial number and credentials. There's nothing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Of course,
there's
we
a
could
will,
use Joe
there's a way.
Biden's, he would know.
Look, at the end of the day, I've been very critical from day one of the whole remote ID concept because it is, there's no protection that the information being broadcast is real, true and correct and valid and able to be relied upon. If you can't rely upon it, why bother doing it?
Well, there is a self-diagnostic or a self-check that the remote ID is supposed to perform before you're able to actually even activate your drone or launch your drone. You can't even turn on the props until it does a self-check and self-activation. Hopefully, whoever is going to be developing this is going to put something in there to prevent that, but like you said, Greg, if there's a will, there's a way. Somebody wants to hack it, they're going to hack it.
Like all of the DJI series drones have been hacked, and you can even now buy replacement core boards for Mavic 2 series drones.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right? All of that kind of stuff is out there. So it's done. The horse is bolted. We can't shut the gate to that paddock. It's done.
Yeah.
So let's continue with that. So the different types of remote ID, we can't trust the information. People can spoof it, and it can be read from a private device. The other things that are, areas of concern, obviously, are FPV aircraft and sport and recreational-based aircraft. They can theoretically fly recreational if they're not uploading their videos to YouTube and getting commercial benefit from it. Do they need to do remote ID, therefore? Theoretically, no. But a lot of those people still like to do YouTube. That's the problem.
If they're not going to do remote ID, then they have to fly from FRIA, I think is the acronym they use for it. It's a remote, it's a field like an AMA field that is going to be designated for people that are flying,
right.
And you don't have to have remote ID to do that. They're going to be giving out.
So are you saying hobbyist aircraft can't fly anywhere other than those fields?
Without remote ID.
Without remote ID, yeah.
Yeah, if they don't have remote ID, they have to fly in one of
Okay.
those fields or be sub 250. If they're sub
Okay.
250 gram, then they can fly wherever. And that's why everybody's going for the minis, except that
I want to
you
step
put
out for a
anything
second.
on the mini, then it's over 250. But yeah, that's the regulation on that. They are going to be handing out a lot of I guess it's permits or licenses to other institutions. Like they're saying everything from elementary schools to colleges can have this, because they're going to be offering courses. Obviously, there's different aviation courses, tech courses, whatever. So they're going to be able to get permits to have their football field or whatever as one of these authorized flying fields where you can fly without a remote ID. And I think that, the way they make it sound, anybody can go get one. So if I wanted to have my local park be one of these fields, I could apply to the FAA and get one of these permits.
I think there'll probably be a catch. There'll probably need to be a public liability insurance policy before the permit will be granted. And then you'll need to have a whole heap of processes and safety officers, and the bureaucracy is going to grow, I think.
That's probably whatever the AMA fields are doing now. It'll probably be the same thing.
Yes, but you won't be able to do it at a local park because you won't have the same structure that you'll have in an AMA kind of organisation to be able to comply with those kind of requirements.
Yeah, true.
Do you think that Australia will follow the FAA with this, or do you think we'll be slightly different?
With which parts of it? With remote
All
ID?
the rules, the remote ID, all this stuff.
I don't think we'll necessarily follow in terms of flying over people, over vehicles and night flight. We've already got our existing setup in that regard. We've already got the requirement for our equivalent of 107 pilots, our REPL pilots, to register their drones. And that is, I think, from memory, by the end of January. There is a plan for other people to have to register them within the next, I think, say 24 months thereafter. Right. But we just don't have that date yet.
Yes.
So it's coming in Australia. But look, the purpose of what I wanted to do today was just to have an informal chat. And like I said, I haven't had time. I've been enjoying holiday season. I haven't been watching and reading, but I wanted to do a compare and contrast Australia compared to what the FAA has been proposing. And it was nice to have you on there, Mike, to chat about that.
Well, yeah. I'll tell you, the one thing that has really amused me is watching all the panic. Everybody's panicking. Remote ID has come out, and I've read a good portion of it. It's so long, it takes forever to read through it. But I read a good portion of it. It's not nearly as bad as it was going to be. You could tell as you're reading through it that the FAA actually did read our comments. I mean, everybody was like, they're doing it anyway. They didn't read our comments. They're doing it anyway. But they actually bring up the comments and say, a lot of people commented on this. So this is good. Like, for example, internet connection. Everybody commented. They didn't want internet connection. They eliminated internet connection. So they did listen to our comments. But all in all, it's really not as bad as they make it out to be. The other thing is, it's 3 years before we're going to have to really knuckle down and have it in effect. It's 3 years from now, so it's like there's no reason to panic. There's no reason to panic. Go out and fly and have a good time,
And the purpose of me sharing today as well and doing the compare and contrast, not specific to remote ID, but for example, the flying over people. We've already had that prohibition in place for a long time, for as long as I've been flying drones. It's already been in place, the 30-meter rule. I think there needs to be some clarity in the FAA's definitions about flying over people to avoid ambiguity. We didn't understand it today, and I don't think we still have an answer to that. The documents you've read, Mike, are they the executive summary documents?
No, I'm actually reading the actual. I read the document. The executive summary is just 3 pages, but the actual thing is 472 pages.
And I wasn't going to do that today. So if you can do a search through that document and look for the flying over people and see if it's got any definition of what does over mean, it'd be interesting if you get a chance while we're on the air today to compare and contrast that particular one. If you can't, it's okay as well.
I was going to say, if you want to see how long it is, I do have it on my screen. Where did you go? Hold on, I have to open it in a different screen.
I won't be able to bring it up because Lloyd's doing the producing and he stepped away, so we won't be able to share your screen up here. But,
Okay.
But anyway, while you look for
Yeah.
that, let's do a couple of other things. I had
I
some
will. I'll
notes
look for it.
at the beginning of the show about things I wanted to talk about. I've got two other quick topics today. One was just to share out of interest my Christmas present from my wife. Now, at face value, you might
That
say,
goes
"Oh,
with
that's
your
a
pie."
computer screen."
Yeah.
Doesn't just go with my pie; it actually is.
Ooh. Oh,
A
yeah, that's
Raspberry
right.
Pi.
I've seen those. Yeah.
Wow.
So this is a Raspberry Pi 400, and I'm very much liking this at the moment. It's got everything that your Raspberry Pi 4 would normally have. The only thing it doesn't have is a camera module connector interface, but I'm sure if you got under the hood, you could probably find that in there. But it's a very nice piece of hardware, and enjoying that very much.
Right.
I'll probably share a few things about that over the coming days and weeks ahead. But that's my new toy for Christmas. Anyone else get
Nice.
any interesting Christmas toys?
I'll just go and grab something and flash it up on the back of us.
Okay.
I got this.
You got the spinny thing?
Yeah. I got the
Boy,
3D
did that
printer
work
and
out great.
I got a 3D printer and a CNC/laser engraver,
Nice.
which I have not plugged in yet. Don't want to burn the house down until I learn a little more. I'm still working on this, yeah,
Can you put Wayne up full screen for me?
absolutely.
Wayne's got his sparkly things on the roof there.
Look at that.
There you-
Ah, cool.
I picked that up for $30 on eBay. It's a little tiny laser device, and it flashes all these patterns up on the roof.
On the roof? That's not.
Well, you can
that's-
even put it on outside and point it to your house and have the
Yes,
street
I
go
feel
and get
weatherproof.
amazed.
I've got some that I bought that are specially made to go outside. They're solar ones. I'll just show you
Right.
how small this is.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Look at that.
Tiny.
Now turn it off so we don't.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
very nice.
Nice, nice.
Party light.
That's the best $30 I've spent on eBay.
Okay, well done.
Absolutely.
A lot of other devices that just didn't work out. But yeah, and this is great for the kids. They come over and we have a bit of a disco in the lounge room. In fact, you watch it's working. Okay, Google, turn on the disco lights. There you go. Can you see the lights?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, we see them.
And
Okay.
I'll see if I can do the Christmas tree as well. Okay, Google, turn off the Christmas tree lights. Okay, Google, turn on the Christmas tree lights. We've got
Oh,
Google
very
everywhere
cute.
in this house.
Google, tell us a joke.
Okay,
Okay, Google.
let me just go back here for a couple of moments. Having a look back at the chat, I'm permanently on the naughty list. Got nothing for Christmas, 10 toes. Poor thing.
Oh.
Thunderbird has said, so Greg's wife cooked up a Raspberry Pi. She's actually getting back to her cooking at the moment, so that's cool. She's doing some editing in the background of some things she had for a long time.
Make some lumpia.
What
I
else
love
have we
lumpia.
got? I will send my AEE drones. They were crap. I don't know what that... What is AEE drones? Don't know that.
I have no clue.
Yeah. Attention deficit disorder.
Is Greg going to play piano at the conclusion of the show? I am actually a musician, but it's not a real one. Hate to break it to you. But Greg's correct. There's no way to keep some hacker from transmitting bogus information, just like caller ID. When was the last time you got a scam phone call from a non-spoofed number? 10 toes. It's a really good, simple way of explaining it. If you can't
It
stop
is.
someone phoning you from a fake phone number, what is going to stop someone from taking a drone and saying that they're Donald Duck or Donald Trump or whoever? It doesn't matter.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, look, if you can't stop someone rigging voting machines, how can you stop them from spoofing? So, I had to do it. I had to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's gotten so bad with this stuff that I've actually gotten calls from myself. I actually had a call on my cell phone that said it was coming from my home phone, and it was a spoof call. They left a message, but it wasn't me calling myself, because any calls coming into my home phone automatically forward to my cell phone. So somebody just spoofed my number because it doesn't get used that much, as far as outgoing calls go. So, yeah. So remote ID's going. Is Mike Miller still with us, or is he frozen?
He's there.
I've gone through 30 pages so far, and I think I found something, and I'm just reading it to see if I can find out what they're flying over people.
Well, I've got one more topic. If you want to continue reading,
I'm going to continue reading.
Yeah.
Okay.
My last
who's
topic.
coming in?
Okay.
Oh, who have we got? Oh,
He's in the
Mr.
dark.
Hope.
Oh, finally.
Mr. Hope.
Mr. Hope, you need some illumination.
Hey, Chris.
As good as gonna get, buddy. I'm driving.
You're driving?
I'm driving.
Okay. That's all right. That's all right. Look, just sit there for a couple of moments and I'll just share my last topic of the day. I want to talk about troubleshooting problems with technology. Now, I mentioned to you earlier today, Lloyd, I've got a Ring doorbell. And for as long as I can remember, it was always dropping out and coming back, drop out, come back up, drop out, come back up. And occasionally you miss rings when someone pushes the button and it just doesn't come through. Anyway, so I called them up and they sent me another one and said, hopefully that'll fix it. Put the other one in, it didn't fix it. And eventually they rolled back the firmware and the problem went away. Until sometime later when they upgraded the firmware again. So I called them back up and they downgraded the firmware again, and sometime later it happened again. I called them up yesterday and they said, well, we can't roll back to that firmware anymore. It's unsupported. It's no longer available to install to your device. So anyway, I was chatting to this support guy for a long time, and in the end we said, look, let's see if I can find out what's actually causing it to happen. And I did something called packet capturing, having a look at the raw packets that are coming out of the Ring doorbell going to their servers. Now, for those of you who are geeks here, Wayne, especially you, I want you to play along, okay?
Yes.
For those who are geeks, I want everyone to open up, if you're on a Windows machine, a command prompt. I hope you know how to do that. Open up a command prompt on your computer. And I'm going to type something in the chat room, and this is what I want you to type into your command prompt. I want you to ping space ping.ring.com. Ping space ping.ring.com. Type that into a command prompt, and I want to know what you get back. First of all, Wayne, most importantly, I want to hear from you, because you're also in Australia. Ping space ping.ring.com.
Okay, you've put it in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
Go, I've got it. I will copy and paste it.
Yeah, tell me what you get. The reason for this, I was getting a message back saying, I can't find the IP address of ping.ring.com. So I'm assuming my doorbell is trying to reach this server and it can't find it. But the interesting thing is it works, as far as I can tell, in the US. What did you get, Wayne? How are we doing there?
Just going now. I have to type it in.
Yep. So 10 toes, 4 sent, 4 received, 0 lost, 63 milliseconds.
Mine's 89 milliseconds. Average.
Okay, but 4 sent, 4 received.
Yep, 0 loss.
Ping request could not find host ping.ring.com. Please check the name and try again. Now that was from Trevor. Obviously, Trevor is also in Australia. Wayne, if you try it as well.
Yep. I'm going to have to. Yeah, sorry, I have to retype it. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to type.
But here's the thing, right? So
It's
I did the
confusing.
analysis. Ping.ring.com is what's called a CNAME record, which goes to iperf.ring.com, which is also a CNAME record, which goes to a different server in each part of the world. So there's one for the US, there's one for Asia Pacific, and the Asia Pacific one doesn't resolve. It doesn't have an IP address. So what that means, for the last 2 years that I've been having this problem intermittently, the doorbell's trying to connect to this ping.ring.com, and when it can't find it, every 3 minutes, it shuts down the interface and then brings it back up again.
Yeah, that's the same thing that I found. Ping request could not find host.
Could not find the server. Yep.
Ping.com. Please check your name. Try again.
Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to share out of interest some troubleshooting that I had done over the last 24 hours with the people from Ring. They were helpful, but it's frustrating to think that every single Ring doorbell in the entire country of Australia, and if not the entire Asia Pacific, has been rebooting every 3 minutes for the last 2 years at least that I know of since I've had one.
I think it's on the lane chest.
Right.
So is he going to take that
I'm
up
on a
and
live
running
show.
it?
Can you just mute yourself there, Mike, or can you mute him? Oh, he's back.
No, he's back. Yeah.
He's back.
Sorry, I hit the wrong button. I thought I hit mute and I turned it back on.
Sorry, someone was asking a question. Was that you, Wayne?
Greg, is he going to escalate that up the chain so they might do something about it, or it's beyond what he can do?
Hopefully. But he also prefaced that comment with a disclaimer that he doesn't know that anyone will necessarily call me back. He's kind of the highest level of escalation, and yeah, so he wasn't sure about that. But I'll have a look in a few days.
No ring on the ring.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, because it's the Asia Pacific region over here, when
The American link?
hang on just 1 second, Wayne. Because we're in the Asia Pacific region, when you wing, you get the wrong number.
Wrong number.
Wrong number. God.
Sorry, you were saying, Wayne?
Can you redirect that to the American link?
You can try and intercept DNS
With
requests
your
and
ring,
all of
is
those
it
kind of
possible to
things.
change the software?
There's no setting to do that, no.
I found the answer for your question,
Okay.
Greg.
Go ahead, Mike, yeah.
So on the flying over people, after reading through or scanning through almost 30 pages of comments from people, because like I said, they did answer they addressed a lot of comments in this. It says, on further review, the FAA has determined that the framework of Part 107, as codified in the final rule, will maintain safety in the NAS, National Airspace. Mandatory minimum standoff distances for small unmanned aircraft are not appropriate at this time. Part 107 already requires the remote pilot to ensure the small UAS operation does not pose an undue hazard to other aircraft, people, or property in the event of loss of control of the aircraft. A prospective standoff distance would not increase the level of safety of small UAS operations beyond the level that compliance with Part 107, as embedded by this rule, already achieves. So they don't give you a standoff distance.
So in other words, it's just when it starts falling, it says, "Hey, knucklehead, get out of the way. You're going to get hit."
Yeah. Look,
Why'd
I
you
think-
move underneath my falling drone?
It's his fault. He saw it up there. I wasn't
So-
flying over him when it fell.
It is sufficiently vague. I was thinking that maybe they would take our interpretation, but they haven't. And another way of looking at it, I think perhaps they're taking when it breaks, then we'll come and prosecute you. But if you don't hit someone, they're never going to worry about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey,
Nice shirt, Mike.
Before your show ends, I had something I wanted to share with you guys that was interesting if you have time.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Okay. this happened to me a while back. I actually had shared this with you before, how I lost my Mavic 2 Pro. I was flying out over water and my battery dropped to zero. It went from 90% to zero instantly, and it went down in the water. I had the same thing happen to me again. Can I share a screen?
Sure.
Yeah, you should be able to.
Okay. Whoops. Hold on. Let me see. I got to move it to. It won't let me do it.
It won't let you do it.
Hold on. I'm sorry. I'm just my. It's trying to put it on the same screen that I'm on. Here we go. So let me share screen. Share screen. This.
Okay.
Can you guys? Can you see it?
There we go. There it is. There it is.
Yeah, so this happened to me today. I was flying and I launched. I was out over at a marina. As you can see in my playback here, what I want you to particularly pay attention to is the battery level right here. Mm-hmm. I flew out a little ways. I'm just going to speed it up a little bit here. I flew out a little ways. I stopped. I think I took a picture here and noticed my battery level, 95%. Okay. I then turned, started to go. This is actually over water. It looks like I'm getting ready to go back over land, but it was actually over water here. I turned, went out, and watched my battery. Pow.
Oh.
Did you see that?
Whoa.
At this point, my drone started landing. And you see me backing up. I just hit reverse. If you watch my altitude, it's still landing. It's going down, 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 down. Luckily, I was able to get back over land before it did it. This is the exact same thing that happened with my last Mavic 2 Pro. I flew out over water, but I was a lot further out last time, and I wasn't able to make it back.
Yeah. Can I make an observation? Can you play that video from the start again? And can you guess what I'm going to ask you about?
The battery temperature?
Yeah.
I saw, you know what? When I launched, I was looking at my drone and not at the screen, and this happened so quick. You're right. That is there. Says battery temperature, which that's not true though. That same 15 degrees, it wasn't that cold. I took it out of my case and I had just gotten out of my truck, so the battery wasn't really that cold. I don't know why it's saying that, but it flashed really quick.
Can you just rewind it? I just want to have a look at the warning message again.
Okay.
So
Right there.
15 Celsius or 59 Fahrenheit.
Oh, Fahrenheit. Yeah, you're right. So. Yeah, that's not that
so
cold.
You've got to warm, according to them, the battery to above 25 Celsius or 77 Fahrenheit before flying.
That's not true.
Well, I'm just reading what the message is saying, right?
I agree. That's what it says. But do you agree with that? Have you ever flown below 77 degrees? All the time.
Well, I don't use 77 degrees over here because that'd be very hot.
25 Celsius.
Celsius or 25 degrees Celsius, yeah.
Yeah.
Look, our country doesn't have weather that's that cold on a frequent basis. The one or two times that I have flown in cold weather, I was around Jindabyne and the Snowy Mountains, and I deliberately had my batteries getting warmed up with the heaters in the car to a decent temperature before flying. So I'm not saying that,
and I'm in California, by the way.
Okay.
I'm in San Francisco, California, so it's not like I'm up in the mountains in the snow. This is California. What we call bad weather is when we have leaves in our swimming pool. So this is, this is not bad here. So the temperature, like I said, I had just gotten out of my truck, so it was warm. It was in the case. It wasn't a matter of batteries being too cold. It says this here now, but I have to disagree with that. But,
all I'm saying is that from a post-mortem analysis, it's the only known piece of data that's unusual.
That's true. Except, like I said, this exact same thing has happened to me twice now, and I'm wondering if it's happened to anybody else. Another factor that I don't know if plays into this, I haven't been flying my Mavic. I've been flying my Evo for the last few months, but a few weeks ago I broke out the Mavic and I just missed it so much. It's like, hooking up with an old girlfriend. So I've been flying it. So Wednesday I went through and I did all my updates. And this may have been the battery that was in my drone when I did the updates, because I did the updates, then I topped it back off, put it back in my case, and then went out today. I noticed that when I did the updates, one of the things that disappeared on my drone, on my menus, is that you could set the discharge rate on how long before it goes. Well, it used to be you could set it to 10 days. Now it's only 5 days. And the 10-day option has disappeared. And not only that, it changed my battery to 1 day. It changed all my batteries to discharge in 1 day. I had to go back through and with each individual battery, change it back to 5 days. And while I was doing that here at home, going through it, I realized that every single battery needed to be updated. I went through all the batteries, except this one. This one was updated that I had done Wednesday. And I'm wondering if something in the update caused it to do this. Another point I want to make here, when I landed, I checked my battery. All my cells were at, is it 4.2? The cells were totally full. All the cells were charged. All the cells were balanced, but the battery percentage said 0, even though the cells were fully charged at full voltage.
That update came through about 6 months ago. I've had all my batteries. I noticed that I did an update about 6 months ago, and I used to like to set my batteries to about 10 days, which is probably the max. But now, since that update's come through, every time I go to get my drone, if it's been sitting and hasn't been charged up in a day or two, the batteries are either just starting to discharge or they're discharged down to half capacity. But I've never had that problem that you mentioned, Mike. It'd be a bit of a shock actually if it happened.
Luckily this time I was close to shore and the drone was just coming down at Greg's 45-degree angle. It's coming down, and I just made it over the sidewalk.
Right back.
I just made it over the sidewalk.
You've just proved my point.
Luckily I didn't land on my spotter.
Yeah. Look, interesting discussion. Lloyd's disappeared for a little while. So we've reached a time when I normally try and finish the show before 12 midday my time so that people can go and watch Ready, Set, Drone. But since Lloyd's doing this from his end, I can't push the button to play the fanfare. So let's fill in the last couple of moments while we're waiting for Lloyd to get back with Art, tell us a joke. Gotcha.
Ready, set, drone, I don't want to fly alone. 'Cause Ready, set, drone lets me fly for free.
Anyway.
Did you see my Christmas song? My Ready, Set, Drone Christmas song?
I think I did, yeah.
I came in here and plugged my headsets in just a little too soon.
Oh, you poor thing.
My ears are hurting now.
So, look, just a couple of quick final comments. People do go and watch Ready, Set, Drone for their speed dial. For the month of January, we're going to be doing this style of show for the whole month.
Cool.
So people are welcome to come in and have a chat about whatever's happening, whatever the topic is of the day. I'll try and have some placeholders for things of interest like I did today.
Cool.
If you've got topics that you want to talk about, or if you've got footage you want to share or anything like that, please send it in. Send it to upload@gregkuhnert.com. Let's have a last quick look at the chat room, see if there's anything else. Several reports of Mini 2 going from 90 to 10 in seconds since firmware update last week. So yeah, that's interesting. 10 toes, mine didn't get to fly today because I was ready to leave and the batteries were discharged. Yep, that's frustrating. Let's hear the sting on the way out. Yeah, we've got the music. It's going to be here. It's all right. Old man Utrix, sorry to hear about that. DJ has the same problem with the Mini 2, Unique 480, yada, yada, yada. If one cell is lower than the others, this happens on DJI drones. Yeah, that's an interesting... Pardon me. That's an interesting one that Joe mentioned. If the drones, because they are smart batteries, if they detect a mismatch and there's a single cell that is behaving differently or weirdly, it will show the capacity of the battery as 0 to try and force it to land before that cell fails. And
Well,
yep, go ahead.
as soon as I landed, I checked the battery, and all my cells were balanced. All of them were balanced, and all of them fully charged.
Yeah.
That's, so there's not that. And I'm going to try what Joe Blaylock said and run it all the way down in a hover, see if that fixes it.
Yeah.
I did
Okay.
recharge it, and I took it back out again today and just let it sit in a hover to see if I could duplicate it. And I couldn't duplicate it. The same battery even. Same battery worked fine.
Yeah, there are a few guides for people who are trying to do a deep discharge on batteries to try and re-educate the controller on the battery about what the low level is and what the high level is, so people are deliberately doing that deep discharge cycle. Do a Google for some of those. There are other people who are replacing their own cells in batteries to do a homemade battery after something has failed, and using the same technique to go and get the controller to relearn what good and bad is in terms of the cell. So, a few thoughts there. But look, we're out of time. Do go and watch Ready, Set, Drone. Any last words from Wayne, Art, Mike?
Just Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Yep.
Happy New
Happy
Year.
New Year, and my show's tomorrow night. I'm going to be doing backwards music, a new thing I'm going to do on my show. I'll play a song backwards, and you have to guess the band and the song.
Okay, sounds like some fun. Mike?
I'm just noticing that Ready, Set, Drone's giving me a drone right now. I just won a drone. He's showing on Ready, Set, Drone. I've got it on my TV over here. He's showing that I won the contest to win his first Spark.
Okay. Well done. Wayne, last
If you
word
want
from
any
you?
pointers, Mike, on how to fly that Spark, just give me a call.
Okay, sounds like fun. By the way, before I go, anyone who wants to play Marble Knights on Apple TV multiplayer with myself and my wife and you and maybe one other person, I'd love to have a 4-player multiplayer on that. That'd be a lot of fun.
Is
there
that
we
Marble
go.
Nights?
Marble Knights. It's a Apple Arcade game.
Marble or Marvel?
Marble.
Marble. He doesn't understand
like
your
the little
Aussie
round
accent.
glass thing?
Yeah, playing with balls. Anyway,
Oh.
Lloyd,
Hey.
any last words from you, Lloyd, after that?
I have nothing. I just don't want to go there. It just totally ain't. No.
Okay. Look, thanks everyone for watching Oz by Drone. Next week, same format as this, but I've got one other thing to ask of you. Please do get a listing of all your favourite channels that you watch. I'm going to be putting together a database.
Okay,
And
cool.
you know how you used to get reminders from YouTube by email about people that are going live with their streams? Looking at doing something where the drone community will have its own notification service, so you can keep in touch with all of the regular and favourite streamers and maybe find some other ones that you didn't know about as well. Anyway, that's all we've got time for today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being part of Oz by Drone. See you next time. Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, if I can do this, yeah.